You think you know Starbucks, that green siren on every corner. What if I told you the Starbucks you know today is a complete accident, a rebellious detour from its original path? The real story isn't about frappuccinos and unicorn lattes. It's about three friends, a visionary salesman, and a single trip to Italy that changed everything. Forget what you think you know, because we're about to uncover the secret history of the coffee giant that almost wasn't. It all begins in 1971, not with fancy drinks, but with a humble storefront in Seattle's historic Pike Place market. The founders were three academics: Jerry Baldwin, a history teacher, Zev Siegel, another teacher, and Gordon Boker, a writer. They weren't interested in selling cups of coffee. They were purists, coffee snobs in the best sense of the word. They were inspired by a man named Alfred Peet, a Dutch immigrant who had founded Peet's Coffee and Tea in Berkeley, California. Peet was a pioneer, bringing high-quality, dark-roasted Arabica coffee beans to an American market dominated by low-grade, canned coffee. The trio learned everything from him. They learned how to source the best beans from around the world, from Sumatra to Kenya. They mastered the art of the dark roast, a technique that brought out deep, complex flavors. And they decided to bring this passion back to Seattle. The original Starbucks, named after the first mate in Herman Melville's Moby Dick to evoke the romance of the high seas and the seafaring coffee traders, was a temple for coffee beans. When you walked in, you weren't greeted by the hiss of an espresso machine. Instead, the rich, powerful aroma of freshly roasted beans filled the air. They sold beans by the pound, along with coffee makers and grinders. They were educators, teaching customers how to appreciate the nuances of a good brew at home. For the first decade, that was the entire business model. Selling coffee drinks. That was completely off the table. They believed it would tarnish the brand and distract from their core mission, providing the best whole bean coffee on the planet. The business was successful in its own right. They built a loyal following of coffee aficionados in Seattle and opened a few more stores. But the scale was small, a local passion project. The turning point, the moment that set Starbucks on its path to global domination, arrived in the form of a man, Howard Schultz. In 1981, Schultz was working for a Swedish kitchenware company called Hammarplast, which sold drip coffee makers. He noticed something strange. This small company in Seattle, Starbucks, was ordering an unusually large number of his company's cone filters and brewers, more than massive department stores like Macy's. Intrigued, Schultz decided he had to see this place for himself. He flew to Seattle, walked into the Pike Place market store, and was immediately captivated. The passion, the knowledge, the smell, it was a sensory overload. He knew instantly that he had to be a part of it. It took him a full year to convince the founders to hire him. They were wary. Schultz was a slick New York salesman, a world away from their quiet, academic approach. But his persistence paid off, and in 1982, he joined Starbucks as the director of retail operations and marketing. For a while, he embraced their vision, but then, in 1983, the company sent him on a buying trip to Milan, Italy. And that trip changed his life, and the future of Starbucks forever. Walking the streets of Milan, Schultz experienced something profound. On every block, he found vibrant espresso bars. They weren't just places to get a quick caffeine fix. They were community hubs. People gathered to chat, to work, to socialize. The baristas knew their customers by name. It was a daily ritual, a third place between home and work. He saw the theater of it all, the skilled baristas pulling shots of rich, dark espresso, the steam, the sounds, the smells. He had an epiphany. This was what coffee could be. It wasn't just a product to be brewed at home. It was an experience to be shared. He raced back to Seattle, bursting with this new vision. He pleaded with the founders, "We have to do this. We have to bring the Italian espresso bar experience to America." The founders, Baldwin and Boker, were completely against it. They were purists. "We are not in the beverage business," they told him. They thought serving drinks would turn their stores into restaurants, attract a different crowd, and destroy the clean, sophisticated atmosphere they had so carefully cultivated. They were roasters, not restaurateurs. Schultz was devastated, but not defeated. He begged them to let him try a small pilot program. Reluctantly, they agreed to give him a tiny corner in a new downtown Seattle store to set up a small espresso bar. The moment it opened, it was an instant hit. The line was out the door. Customers were fascinated by these new drinks: the espresso, the cappuccino, the latte. Schultz had proven his point. This was the future. But even with this success, the founders refused to change direction. Their hearts were still in the bean business. This fundamental disagreement led to a crossroads. Frustrated, but more determined than ever, Schultz made a bold move. In 1985, he left Starbucks to start his own coffee bar chain, which he named Il Giornale, Italian for the daily. He modeled it directly on the Milanese experience, serving lattes and cappuccinos in a welcoming, community-focused environment. He even adopted a green logo, which would later become iconic. Il Giornale was a success, expanding to several locations and proving Schultz's vision had legs. Then, in 1987, fate intervened. The original Starbucks founders, Jerry Baldwin and Gordon Boker, decided they wanted to focus entirely on their other venture, Peet's Coffee and Tea, which they had actually purchased from Alfred Peet a few years earlier. They decided to sell the Starbucks name, its roasting plant, and its 6 Seattle stores. Who was the first person they called? Howard Schultz. Schultz knew this was his chance. He needed to raise $3.8 million to buy the company that had once rejected his grand vision. He pitched his idea to hundreds of investors. Many turned him down, but he eventually scraped together the money, with some crucial help from early backers, including a young lawyer, Bill Gates Sr., the father of the Microsoft co-founder. With the purchase complete, Schultz merged his Il Giornale stores with Starbucks and rebranded everything under the Starbucks name. He was finally in the driver's seat. Now, he could fully implement his vision to create a third place for Americans. He combined the best of both worlds, the high-quality, dark-roasted beans from the original Starbucks and the Italian-inspired community coffeehouse experience from Il Giornale. The growth that followed was explosive. Schultz's timing was perfect. The 1990s saw a cultural shift. People were looking for affordable luxuries and new social spaces. Starbucks offered both. It wasn't just coffee, it was a lifestyle. They standardized everything: the drinks, the store design, the customer service, so that a latte in Seattle would taste exactly the same as a latte in Chicago. This consistency was key to their rapid expansion. They introduced new concepts that became cultural touchstones. The Frappuccino, which was actually acquired when Starbucks bought a Boston coffee chain called the Coffee Connection, became a global phenomenon. They introduced seasonal drinks like the pumpkin spice latte, creating a frenzy every fall. They pioneered drive-thrus, mobile ordering, and a loyalty program that kept customers coming back. By 1992, Starbucks went public with 165 stores. By the year 2000, that number had skyrocketed to over 3,500 stores worldwide. Of course, the journey wasn't without its challenges. The company faced criticism for its aggressive expansion, sometimes putting local coffee shops out of business. There were debates about its labor practices and its environmental impact. In the late 2000s, the company grew too fast and lost its way. The stores felt generic, the coffee quality dipped, and the stock price plummeted. In 2008, Howard Schultz, who had stepped down as CEO years earlier, made a dramatic return to save the company he had built. He shut down hundreds of underperforming stores, retrained thousands of baristas on the art of pulling a perfect espresso shot, and refocused the company on its core values of quality coffee and customer connection. He re-energized the brand, proving that even a global giant could have a soul. Today, Starbucks has over 38,000 stores in more than 80 countries. It's a testament to a journey that started in a tiny bean shop, was nearly derailed by a disagreement over a cup of coffee, and was ultimately saved by one man's unwavering vision inspired by a trip to Italy. So the next time you hold that iconic green and white cup, remember the story behind it. It's a story of passion, rebellion, and the accidental creation of a global empire. It's the story of how a humble bean roaster became the king of coffee. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the brands you thought you knew. Let me know in the comments what your go-to Starbucks order is. See you in the next one.